Most recently in Community Refuge, we've been exploring Vajrayana topics and opening up a Vajrayana discussion. Community Refuge itself is built on the idea of taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, finding our place of this is where we stand, this is what we, are working with, this is what we are committed to. This is where literally our safety is. It's not in success or fame or other people liking us or some sense that we'll live forever. It's in the Buddha as an example, in the Dharma, the teachings as here's how he achieved awakening, and the Sangha as companions to help us on the path. And so often in a lot of tonight is going to be like a review of themes in Community Refuge. So often in this context, we've talked about the way things really are. And so you already know this so well, many of you, more like a river than a rock. And we're going to talk about that tonight from a Vajrayana point of view. So the Vajrayana itself, what we in Community Refuge we've called the three yanas, the foundation way, the great way, and the immediate way, instead of using their Sanskrit names. So the foundation way points at there is no solid Brian, there is no solid you. That is a temporary experience, and there's all kinds of ways you can, you know, analyze it and look at it and go, that's really just temporary. And if you need a demonstration of that, who you are right now, being in this talk or watching this video, is different than who you were when you were 6 years old. I just cannot imagine anybody going, yes, I am at 70, the same person I was 64 years ago. Nothing has changed. That's just so obviously not the way it is that the foundation teachings point out everything's constantly changing. The Great Way points at two truths that add on to that description. The first one is that the way things are is radically wide open. There's no thing that you can hold on to, right? No solid anything that you can hold on to. And yet it is full of possibility. Anything can happen. And actually, everything does happen. So we've called that state open, empty, full as a way of translating the Buddhist concept of shunyata, or chunyi in Tibetan. But shunyata, it's helpful to know that the word shunya in shunyata is the same word, or was the same word, out of which the idea of zero came. So it's the zero state. That's the wide open quality, right? Zero does not mean nothing. Zero is holding the place open. So if you have 110 and zero singles, 1 0, right? That's holding it open for the next one or two or three, right? So zero holds the space open. And that idea seems to have emerged thousands of years ago, simultaneously in both Egypt and India, that there was this open state. So that's a core idea in the Great Way, and it's full of possibility. And the other half of the Great Way teaching is, and it seems to help if you adopt the heart mind of compassion, that actually holds the open state in a way that makes it more useful and more conducive to waking up. So no solid Brian or you, and things are open, empty, full, and compassion helps. And that takes us to the Vajrayana. And last week we talked about taking refuge in being awake, in this quality of I'm present, I'm available for whatever happens. It's like when you wake up in the morning, you may think you know what's going to happen, but as for me at least, when I'm in bed and I open my eyes, anything can be happening. And, the weather could be a beautiful day like it was this morning, or I might wake up and it's snowy, or I might wake up and it's started like it's just this windstorm happening outside where I live, which happens a lot. Anything can happen. Or I could wake up early and it's still dark. I didn't expect to wake up until it was late outside, and all of a sudden, for some unknown reason, I woke up at 5:30 or 4 a.m. instead of at 7. Okay, it's dark. Anything can happen, right? So awake just accepts whatever it is and lets it in, right? There's this open availability to whatever's going on. So tonight I want to talk about another idea from the Vajrayana, a core idea or core concept. And it's why I started with the question of real. What's real? And I'm truly convinced, I'll try to not use the word really in this discussion, that one of the things that the Buddha Dharma challenges us with is examining our unconscious assumptions about life. And most of us have a lot of them. It starts with, this is real. This Brian is, you know, a long lasting, maybe even permanent experience. It's real. And I believe that the word real is at least somewhat related to the words that point at being a thing, a solid, permanent, single thing. There's just one Brian. There's not three Brians or two Brians, right? I mean, somebody else might have the name, but there's this Brian, and that's somebody else. And we act as if when we pass away, and inevitably everybody dies, as if some Brian quality continues on, as if it's a real thing that continues. And we organize our life that way, to protect your sense of me, what I'm holding on to. And, that's how it feels. It feels like this is real. I believe it would be a much more useful word to say this, pointing at my experience of Brian, right, is an experience. It is something that is happening. There is some event that's happening, some flow, more like a river, that's going on, but it's not a rock. It's not a solid, anything that I can hold on to. But it feels real. It feels like a thing. And so I'd like to share an example, and this was one of Trungpa Rinpoche's examples. So he asked his students to think about going to a movie. And imagine that I'm the projectionist and I'm sort of new at the job, and I failed to put the film in the projector. And so, the projector turns on, and what you see is just this bright white light illuminating the screen. And everybody goes, boo. This is not what we came for, right? But what's happening with the projector is it's projecting out the brightness. So in this metaphor, the brightness is like your awareness. That actually what's happening with the experience of mind is this constant projecting awake, available to experience. And the world that you experience or I experience is like the projection screen. What happens in a movie, okay, it's my second day on the job. I've learned how to load the projector, and I turn on the projector and the film starts going through. And what you see projected out are all the images, the moving images, and the colors and the shapes that are filling that white screen. You don't see the white screen any longer. You don't see the bright light coming out of the projector. You see the movie. And we sit back and go, that's good, or that's horrible, or that's boring, or that's sad, or we have a reaction, right? And if it's a good movie, we're pulled into the story, into the moving images. So there's something happening. The projector is still projecting out the bright light. The white screen is still the white screen. What's changed is this uh, intervening film and all the images and whatever that are on it, and our willingness to believe that that's how it is. That's a good description of confusion or samsara from a Buddhist point of view. But the light is still there, the projector is still projecting, the film is just film. Everybody knows it's a film. I mean, unless you're very young or very naive, you can get pulled in, you can really be into the story. You might even walk out of the story wanting to be Darth Vader or Princess Leia or whoever, the hero, the heroine in that adventure. That was such a beautiful thing. And then you go have a burger and french fries with your friends, and that fades, and it's interesting. But for most people, they don't actually go home thinking that they're Princess Leia or Darth Vader. There's more of a sense of like, oh, this other movie is playing, but we don't even know it's a movie. We call it hamburger and french fries. And then we walk in the front door of our house and we call it the name of our pet or our partner, and we start looking at the movie that's playing in our house. There is an idea that's very useful in the Vajrayana that, and this is sometimes called the two truths. There's the way things actually are, which is like that projector before the film, wide open, empty of anything you can hold on to, and very bright. Anything can be projected from the projector. So open, empty, full. And it has a brightness to it, a warmth to it. Right? That's how things truly are from the Vajrayana point of view. And we are constantly running the movie, and that's how things show up. So there's the way things are, which you might call absolute truth. And then there are whole schools that talk about the absolute truth and the emptiness, and emptiness is the most important, shunya, the zero quality. And it's like, yes, it's very important to remember. And then there's how things appear or how they show up. And it shows up as your movie and my movie. And in the Heart Sutra, it says that the way things are and is the way they show up. And the way they show up is the way things are. And there's no showing up without the way things are, and no the way things are without how they show up. Except it says it in nice philosophical terms that's a little bit less confusing, but I think not as helpful. Everything's empty, and yet emptiness appears. And appearance shows up as emptiness. And there's no emptiness other than appearance, and no appearance other than emptiness. In the same way, and then it goes down the whole list of possible projections: form, feeling, perception, formation, consciousness are empty, etc. It goes down the whole long Heart Sutra dancing list of this is how things are: wide open, empty, full, and there's how they show up. I like the, I think, underused English word phenomena. Things are phenomenal. And that word comes from a Greek word that meant as they shine out. So I love it that it relates to this projector idea. It comes from phanein in Greek. Please don't ask me to spell it because I'd have to remember how to say all the Greek letters in a row. But in English, it would be Phanein, phanein. Right? And that's and when we have Christmas and the feast of the Epiphany, that's the shining out of the glory of God in this little baby, right? The epiphany, right? The shining out quality. So there's a shining out quality of experience. Well, why is this a Vajrayana point of view and what's so important about it? Like you could go on, and yes, I'm talking about phenomena and phenomenology and how you experience things and what's the big deal? Well, I think it relates to a description of reality that's very helpful as a meditator. And so here's a Buddhist description of the way things are. The first is, I think it's in 4 steps, if I can do this in 4 steps. You experience awareness. If you're not experiencing awareness, we might as well stop talking. So you experience awareness. Right? We call that a mind. You have a mind, but really, what that word mind is pointing at is the experience of awareness. So you experience awareness. Second step: things flow by more like a river than a rock. They are constantly changing, they're impermanent, there's no thing to hold on to. There's a vibrant aliveness to the flow. It's not static. Even if it's like a frozen river, you know that underneath the frozen river, when the sun comes back in the spring, the flow will happen again. Even ice ages end, right? So there is this flowing alive quality. So you experience awareness more like a river than a rock. The third is we live an experience that is intimately interwoven with millions of other experiences in this web of experience. You might call that karma. So everything connects to everything else. Even though no one's keeping score, if I cut the thread here, it will affect something over here in this web. Right? Even if I never feel it, the cut has an effect. So you experience awareness. We live in the flow of experience. Everything is connected in this intricate, wonderful web of shared experience. And then here's where the Vajrayana comes in. And you can choose how to show up. You could show up awake, good-hearted, embodying all the qualities of the Buddha or any of the meditational deities. You could embody bravery, generosity, kindness, ferocious protectiveness when required, complete patience when required. You can embody it all. You can put on whatever costume you want and play your part in the movie. So Vajrayana practice has a lot to do with making that choice. Like, oh, I woke up this morning. I feel like that Beatles song. Woke up, got out of bed. It's like a day in the life, right? It's the title of the song. Go through all the things that happened in that particular day. You wake up, you get out of bed, and then you get to decide, how am I playing my role today? I am going to play a role because I'm a human being, and this is how it's experienced. And do I embody awake or do I embody something else? And on that choice will hang all of the experiences you have for the day, how you touch the world you help build for tomorrow, and more and more and more. So it's a very powerful acknowledgement of, of how we are in our lives and the possibility of not only taking refuge, but putting refuge into action by how we show up.